So what are we doing this week?
We are talking about the books we have read over the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We have a serious reading problem.
Although she has been on holiday as well, so... And some of the books are from our line of work. So, explaining the different genres. Which one should we go with first? These big ones at the back?
Yeah, no. I can't see what it's called.
Just pick it up. The Mage Winds by Mercedes Lucky. So just tell us a little bit about it, don't spoil it.
This one is the second in the series. The first one I borrowed a year ago.
Is it The Winds of Fate by any chance, the first one?
Stop reading the back.
It's a picture at the bottom.
Spoilers! So basically it's about this girl who becomes a warrior and goes on adventures. It's pretty much all I can say without ruining it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not actually my book, it's my boyfriend's, which, if anybody knows us, there's not many things we agree on, but it is a really good book.
Don't tell him that. Right, should we go on to the next one?
Yep.
This is the sequel to Jackie Daydream, and it's Jacqueline Wilson's life from about age 11 to the end of her teens, I'd say. And it's really good because we really enjoyed Jackie Daydream, and I lent it to you, didn't I, to read over your holiday. And it's just nice seeing a bit more about the author who's written so many lovely books.
It's definitely a different way of doing an autobiography.
Yes. You feel like you're reading one of her stories, and then there's like photos and stuff like that interspersed, and it's really good. I recommend anyone who likes Jacqueline Wilson to read this and Jackie Daydream, which we have up there. So yeah. Next one.
Well, we can't really talk a lot about Clockwork Angel
Or Clockwork Prince.
because we are going to be doing another video on the whole series, which is 9 books altogether.
Yes, not counting Bane Chronicles, so 10 if we count the Bane Chronicles.
And what about the Codex?
That was just going to be a spin-off one. I was going to do a spin-off on accompanying books to series.
Okay.
Because Lemony Snicket has that as well, so I thought it'd be a good way. So, obviously we're reading these at the moment so we can do videos on them. And if you can tell just by these copies alone, we have read them multiple times before. But to do a good review, you obviously want to reread things prior to doing it. Okay.
No!
Go and put the ones that we've talked about down, because then we don't have to worry. Oop. And while Tiff was away, I read Katie, which is also by Jacqueline Wilson. And I didn't think I was going to like it at first, because apparently it's inspired by what Katie did, which is like a turn-of-the-century novel. And it's very sickeningly sweet. Has a happy ending sort of thing. Not much of a spoiler if you've read what Katie did, although this is a spoiler if you haven't. In that book, what Katie did, she falls out of a tree and ends up in a wheelchair, but then learns to walk at the end of it. And
Huh?
yeah.
How can you fall out of a tree? Never mind.
You can fall out of a tree and hurt yourself in a way that you damage your back.
Yeah, I get that, but the walking again's a bit...
I can't remember the end of it, to be quite honest, but it's too happy. And Jacqueline Wilson thought that herself. She even mentions it in the end of the book, how she thought was like against it, basically. And her daughter both agreed that they didn't think it was fair or likely that if you had such a severe injury that made sure that you couldn't walk ever again, you're not going to suddenly
be able to walk.
So this is her version, with a modern take and a modern spin, and it is brilliant. You really felt for the character and stuff in her anger, her happiness, her sadness, because obviously you're going through 101 emotions. It's not like you just, oh well, because that's an optimist. An optimist is silly. But yeah, it's a good book, and I definitely recommend people reading it. So I think it's on your list to read, isn't it?
My ever-growing list.
Ever-growing list. Right, shall we tackle books that we have read to other people, shall we say? Is that the safest way of going about it?
Guess so.
Okay, which one should we go with first? Mr. Greedy. Right.
The ending to this book is just...
I love the Mr. Mum books. In fact, if I hadn't have already finished my hot chocolate, I would have probably brought in my Mr. Bump mug that I was drinking it out of, because I absolutely adore Mr. Bump. And when they finally did... I actually have them.
The ending's so stupid, and then he's... No, it's just...
Mr. Bump
and Little Miss Whoops. So Mr. Bump's always my favourite character because I'm very clumsy, so I sort of associate with him a lot. And then when they finally did a girl one, I was so happy. Apparently they're brother and sister, and these are brilliant. Haven't read them recently, but yeah, mainly because they're very special to me compared to the others, which are more easily replaceable. But the one I've read most recently to people is Mr. Greedy. And I said this to Will the other night. It's funny how when you read books as a kid, you don't pick up on
You're just
a lot
like,
of stuff.
oh, it's got a happy ending, yay, and then you read it as an adult and you're like, what the? That makes no sense.
Yeah, this short book took me 20 minutes to read to someone the other night because poor Will was questioning every single sentence. And to be fair, you do sit there and you're like laughing your head off. I mean, apparently his house looks like him. Right? So that's Mr. Greedy, that's his house. I thought if you stretch your imagination a bit, I can see where the author is making the comparison, and fair enough. Will couldn't. Will was just like, it doesn't make sense. And that's the like PC version. But yeah, it's a funny book, and I think the whole point of the Mr. Men and Little Miss series is you're not meant to take them seriously.
No.
As adults, you can sit there and go, oh my god, this makes no sense. I mean, his weight loss is all down to a giant. Fair enough. I wish that giants would come and cure all weight loss problems, but there you go. Although we do see him again in Little Miss Chatterbox, and he's clearly put it all back on. So
He's clearly yo-yoing.
yeah. Little Miss Naughty's always been a funny one. I like it, but at the same time I'm just like...
I only like it because she's purple.
Yeah, I think that was my main reason. What annoys me, though, is just a few books after Little Miss Naughty, they did Little Miss Trouble.
Which is basically the same thing.
But she's yellow and ginger.
Wow.
So...
Colorist.
But I do enjoy that one. Of their new series, I think, because they've done some new ones which sound amazing, so I want to get them, like the Little Miss Birthday and Mr. Christmas and stuff like that. And I definitely want to read Mr. Bump in the Night, because that sounds funny. I think this one is my favourite. No spoilers, but he deals with an ogre, as it says on the book. And it is just really, really funny, and it's fun to read to people because you're there and you're going, doing all the voices and just counting, and it's a really good book to read to someone, isn't it? Which one's your favourite out of the ones we've been reading?
I don't really have a favourite. I like all of them.
I mean, my favourite, all-time favourite Mr. Muppet.
Mr. Daydream always makes me laugh.
He's barely in it.
They're just like, Mr. Daydream, you know what he looks like. How does everybody know what a daydream looks like? And since when is a daydream in a cloud with legs?
Clearly you just don't daydream right.
Okay, well, I'm on a beach.
Yes. So,
Makes me laugh.
Little Miss Chatterbox made me laugh because it was literally every person she came across. Just Mr. Greedy didn't get to eat the whole time when he visits her. She basically, throughout the book, she's trying to get a job, which is really sweet, but she keeps getting fired from all these jobs because she keeps talking. She works in the bank, she gets fired, and Mr. Happy has no money because he couldn't take any out because she was just talking. She works as a waitress, and that's how Mr. Greedy runs into her, and she keeps talking, and he ends up going the whole day and night without eating. And they're all too polite to actually just tell her to shut up.
They're very PG.
I do like the ending. It has a happy ending, like most of the Mr. Men and Little Miss books, and I think that's why they're so nice to read to people. Actually, is because they're nice and short, and they have a nice ending.
And they're not necessarily like all child based,
No.
because they're quite long books for children's books.
Sometimes you're there and you're like, oh yeah, quick, although at some speeds, just impossible. You've read one word, turn the page. But yeah, they're really good. I think if I had to say which one I was most like, until Little Miss Whoops came, I always identified with Mr. Bump. And since she's come, I'd say Little Miss Whoops. So which one would you say you were like? You can look on the back if you like, if that helps. What about you, Georgia? You're not Little Miss Lucky. Or Mr. Happy. I'd say you're Little Miss Happy. Definitely. Little Miss Sunshine, sorry, because she's not Little Miss Happy, sorry.
And look, Mr. Happy and the wizard.
We're a little Miss Shy. I mean,
Little
if you
Miss Lucky and the naughty pixies.
if you know me, I'm not an overly confident person. I mean, you have to get to know me.
So, yeah, you said you're like Little Miss Shy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Izzy?
What's my favourite instrument?
Yeah, go with that.
Not a clue.
We said which one are you most like?
Oh, bum.
That fits, because I'm Little Miss Whoops. And I would say Mr. Will is Mr. Tall. Or
Yeah.
Mr. Skinny. To be fair, there's several you could be. I don't think any of us are any one.
Or Will's Mr. Bossy.
Mr. Grumble.
Mr. Bossy's not one.
Oh.
I'm looking. Okay. So the last book we've been reading, because there is another one but we don't have it with us, is a children's version of a children's book. So I'd say a 0 to 5-year-old.
I was going to say, it's a younger version of a children's book.
So it's still the same basic story, but it's very condensed, and it's very good for getting little ones into such a brilliant world.
I mean, if you're anything like me, even as a child, I don't think I would have been able to read Alice in Wonderland.
No, it's... Yeah.
Especially the way, I mean, it's an old book, so obviously the way it's written, it's old-fashioned, and for someone like me, and I was just going, why is she talking like that? It's annoying.
Whereas this one's very, like, this is the whole rabbit scene. And it's just 2 pages with words like, hey, Mr. Rabbit called Atlas.
It's
stuff.
modernised.
Yeah, it's just sped up a lot, basically. And I love the original, but I found it quite fun to read. So, yeah, there's not really much more to say about this one. But, no, have you been reading anything in the last couple of weeks? Okay, so shall we leave it there?
Yeah, sure.
Bye.
Bye.